Hello everyone and welcome to my corner of the world. Now I spend an awful lot of time designing projects for my videos and my classes, but sometimes we need to look a little bit closer to the catalogue and actually use some of the ideas that have been prepared by the concept artists at Stampin' Up. And so I was looking at these and I thought, well, that's an interesting card. Why don't I just have a little go at that? So that is what I'm going to do in this video. So the stamp set and dies that are used are the Thoughtful Wishes bundle here. And again, if you know me, you know I do love these sets with the greetings and some pictures there. So that's what I'm going to use. And when I look really closely at this picture, I can see that we've got a little bit of watercoloring going on here, smooshing here, and then we've got a leafy stem, and then there's behind it is another layer which uses this die and gives you all these beautiful leaf effects. And again, looking closely, I can see that they used the back of these this set of papers. So you know, they've got sort of watercolor effect, and then they sort of got smooshy bits on the back. So I found one that is sort of a bluey effect, and one that is like a yellowy sort of effect. And to save a little bit of time, I have cut out one of them. So here is here's the first one using the yellowy ones. And because this is a very fine die, I am using the adhesive sheet. And so this is the side I want to use. And so I've got a piece of adhesive sheet here. This is just half a sheet of that paper. And I've just cut a 3-inch piece off of the adhesive sheet. So I like to put my, rather than take all the backing off at once and then wrangling with lots and lots of adhesive, I like to take it off a bit at a time, and then that way I am not getting it stuck over everything that it doesn't need sticking to. So I'm just going to flop this down like that and give that a good old burnish to make sure that's stuck down well. Now, making sure I put my die on the side that doesn't have the sticky, I'm going to get my little mini here and use a number 1 plate, and then I'm going to put a number 2 plate, then my paper and my die, and then a number 2 plate on the top like that. Right, so this, I'm going to do it slowly because there's a lot of detail and I want to make sure that it all gets cut out, and sometimes if I go too fast it doesn't give a good cut. So let's have a look to see what we've got. Oh, excellent cut. And you see that they've got all the, you can see all the bits there. So just gently wiggle that out like that. It'll all come out. There we go. And then I've got the little brushy thing, so I can get those big pieces out. Of course, now I've made a mess. I made an even bigger one now. I just chucked it all on the floor. Never mind. Never mind. So let's just get this out. There, I think that's almost there. Just gently ease it out, and there's just a couple of little bits left in there. Just need some gentle persuading. And there we have our 2 back pieces. Now, the other thing I want to do before I go any further is we need to do some watercoloring, and we need to let it dry for a few moments. So I've got here, and I've done a little bit of prep. So I've got my Calypso Coral re-inker, and I also have a scrap of cardboard here somewhere. Here we are. And a scrap of watercolor paper, and this is, I think this is about 2 1/4 by 2 1/4, and I've got my water pen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put plenty of water down. Oh, I've got some color on there. Plenty of water down on here, and I think I've got enough color. What I would normally do is take a bit of color and let it down, but it looks like, I'm going to get you a little bit closer. There we go. Hopefully that didn't make you seasick. And then I'd smoosh it on. But since that's all got lovely, that's a lovely effect, I'm not going to do any more to that, and I'm just going to let it dry. And that shouldn't take very long. That will give me a few moments to do some other bits and pieces with this card. So you can see that this is like a square card. I don't make square cards because here in the States you have to pay extra postage for a square card. So I'm just using my ordinary 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4 here, and I'm using the new Basic Beige. I think it's just a lovely neutral. So my other thing I'm going to do, which isn't in the picture, but hey, you know, I have to have a little bit of artistic license. So I am going to use this dotty stamp. So this dotty stamp is in the stamp set. And if you know me, you know I just love my dotty stamps. And all I'm doing is doing some tone on tone stamping off. So I'm getting really pale texture without adding any extra layers or embossing or anything like that. So let's just do that. You just got to remember. Reminds me years ago in the post office. I used to go in there and they would, oh, see, I got one I forgot to stamp off. Never mind. Hey, it is what it is. So there's my texture, tone on tone, stamped off. So I'll leave that aside for a few minutes. Now I've got my pieces here, and I'm going to be putting them down like, kind of like this. I think I'm going to do it like this. There we go. And then this piece will go here when it's dry, like that. Okay, so the other thing I can see in here is we've got this piece here that is sort of a stem. So we're going to work on that for a few minutes. So I got a piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to use, this is the black Memento ink. So this is a water-based ink because I'm going to colour it with my Stampin' Blends. if I was going to use watercolor pencils, I would need to use a solvent-based ink that stays on. But this is a water-based one, and the blends are solvent-based. So the blends aren't going to make this bleed. Right, out with the old die cutting again. Now then, I'm going to use this die. I'm going to need a piece of tape to hold everything in place. So I'm just going to line it all up so I can see. Let me get some of this. This is like sticky note, but it's in tape form, and it's very, very good. And I'm just making sure I can see all my leaves in the right place. And then I'm just going to stick that down, pop the top on. And I'm using the same sandwich that I used just now, which is the 2 plates, one above, one beneath my die and my paper. And then I've got my base there. So let's see how we've done with the cutting. I can see that it's nicely cut on the back there, so I don't need to run it through a second time, but I do need to take that off. That would help, wouldn't it? All right, and so just ease that out, and there I've got a nice plant. So now we're gonna do a bit of colouring. Now this is very fine, these leaves, so I am just going to use the bullet end rather than the brush end. There's the brush end, and I find personally that when you're doing small bits, I find it easier to use the bullet end. So on the tiny little leaves, I'm going to do them all green. So this is Granny Apple Green. And on the bigger leaves, I'm going to use, I think it's Daffodil Delight, but I'll check in a sec. Because looking at it on the picture, it does have yellowy tips, but I'm not sure quite what colour. So I'm using a colour that I've got, rather than, because you don't always have to have all of the exact same stuff. You can just build up. They're like that. So let's see what colour. Okay, so that's Dark Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to use the bullet end again. There we go. It's very quick, and you can see I'm not taking a whole amount of time blending or anything, because I don't think anyone is going to look that close. I'll pick it up and show it you in a minute, and then I think I've done it all. Oh, there's a little one there that I missed. There we go. So there we've got that piece that's going to go front and center. So I think I've pretty much got everything done, all my bits. So we can go ahead and assemble this now. So this has got the adhesive on the back. And all I'm going to do is just gently pull the backing off. And remember, it's like in 3 pieces. So we're going to just gently come on. There we go. It's just very, very, I'm glad I'm not putting adhesive like liquid or tape runner on this. This would be really fiddly. There we are. Now then, I think we're going to pop it at an angle like that. And just press it firmly down, and that should stick beautifully. So we just do the second one. I'm just using my tool there to just scuff up the backing paper, and it works very well. There, that one came off a lot quicker. So let's make sure I got it the right way round. Okay, so super job. Right, so let's see how we're doing. So this, you really can't see the bits at the back, but they're there. It's a shame to actually cover them up too much, but hey. And now this piece is dry. This is lovely and dry. This is my watercolored piece. So I'm going to stamp the greeting on here. And you need to make sure it is nice and dry, otherwise it will bleed and it won't look pretty. So that is looking good as well. I think what we'll do is we'll pop that up on some dimensionals. Now, I will put the measurements and the supplies for this on my blog. And if you look below this video, you will see that there is a link to my blog, and it will take you to the exact post that covers this card. So you're not hunting and pecking, looking for the information. And as I say, I'll make sure all the measurements are there for you. Well, that wasn't very smart. I just put my finger in the ink. Now then, I like to have a liner in my cards. That's the bit where I'm going to write the to you, love from me. And so I'm going to just put a little bit of that in. And of course, you can't not have an envelope like this. So I'm going to pop that there as well. So we've got those pieces, and I'm just going to cover up the ink so I don't get myself in an awful mess. Now we've got this piece here, and we've got our inside piece. There we go. That's it. And now we need to attach this somehow. So I can see, if I want my thinking of you to show, I can see that I need to put some adhesive down here, nothing under here or at the top, and some over here. So at least I know where I'm going with this now. Now, I just noticed on the sample that in the book that the edges were rounded with like a stitch effect. Well, I don't have that die, so I am just making sure, just using a square. Oh, there we go. And I think the last thing in my sample is the some pearls, and those are these, and these are called adhesive backed pearl trio. Okay, and we're just gonna dot some around. So they used 5, so I will use 5, and we put one there because there's a bit of a space there, and we put one down here, 1, 2, 3. So we need one more, which we pop there. And there we have a card that's designed by the Stampin' Up concept artists that I have just sort of created by looking closely at the picture. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed this, casing the catty, casing the catalogue. And if you have, perhaps go ahead, give me a thumbs up, and maybe you'll subscribe and share my video. I'd certainly be appreciative of that. Well, thank you very much for choosing to spend some time with me. Very much appreciate it, and I will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye for now.